This episode is brought to you by Deal. Managing a global team is complex. Deal makes it simpler with payroll, HR, IT, and compliance, all in one place. That's why over 35,000 businesses trust Deal to hire, pay, and manage teams worldwide. See how Deal works at deal.com/Adrian Tan to learn more. That's DEEL.com/ADRIANTAN. Deal, your forever people platform. In today's episode, we are joined by a man who has transformed personal challenges into powerful tools for growth and success. He's a strategic business storyteller, a podcast host, and a business coach for leaders who has touched the lives of countless individuals across the globe. His journey from a highly sensitive person, which we'll touch on later on, to an empathetic leader is not just inspiring, but also filled with valuable lessons for all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming a master of communication, a champion of authenticity, and the founder of Ministry of Influence, Coen Tan. Thank you, Minister, for coming on to the show.
Thanks, Adrian, for having me on the show. Hi, everybody. I'm Coen, and I'm very excited to be sharing my knowledge as well as my experiences.
Yeah, first time I have a minister, so I'm also very excited. So, I'd like to start off with your culinary adventure, because you are quite a culinary adventurer, having tried your hands at various regional cuisines. Now, if you have to describe your journey as a speaker and coach, using a cooking metaphor, what dish would it be and why? Are we talking about a spicy curry that packs a punch, or more of a slow-cooked stew that develops flavor over time?
Wow, what a great question. I personally would say that it would be a slow-cooked stew that develops over time. And why I say that is because I think, my own experiences in life, right, have been part of my, I'll call it a wisdom stack, right? That's my word, wisdom stack. A wisdom stack is, right, a combination of all the skills that you have accumulated through all the different trainings that you have gone to, or your different careers that you have undertaken, as well as even your own hobbies and your own personal interests. So that they actually help you to develop certain skills. But it's also more than just skills, right? It's also your collective judgment, your collective wisdom, your collective understanding about how things work. I know it's very, very meta, but when you bring all of this, when you synthesize all of this and bring this combination of skills, judgment, wisdom, knowledge into the work that you do, whether it's coaching, consulting, speaking, or whatever the work you're doing, right, or whatever business you're running, it gives you the ability to bring your own unique perspective to the table. It will help you to curate unique experiences for your clients and your customers, whether your customers are external customers or internal customers. We'll dive deeper into that later about experiences.
Actually, to touch on that point, I do understand for many successful people like yourself, it is really an amalgamation and an accumulation of different skill sets that you capture a long time. And since we are still talking about cooking, cooking, it also have a process. You have to put ingredient 1, then ingredient 2, then ingredient 3. It's very unlike, let's say, a tom yum soup. Just dump everything in and then you just turn on the fire. Do you think the sequence of the experience that you capture along your journey play a part in that specific manner that those skills?
Wow, that's a very deep question, actually. Sequence, right? There are many people who will tell you that the sequence is important, but you would... Okay, talking about cooking, right? Recently, I watched the Culinary class wars, and I was totally fascinated by the show, especially how the underdogs can rise. And I have a particular soft spot, right, for those self-made, self-taught. When I say self-made, I don't mean that they are just people who depend on themselves only, right? But the thing is, they never had the opportunities or the access, right, to formal training. And so they actually have to experiment and iterate and try things out before they finally get it. I would say that when I first started out, I was a little bit of a slow boil as well, a bit of a stubborn person, a little bit maybe too thick in the head. And, I just want to do things my way, without even learning the how things work, right? So I was just going and dabble and try different things and made a lot of stupid mistakes. So you say that I'm a slow learner. I mean, if I have a chance to actually revisit when I first started, right, I would have sought out more expert guidance. And I use the word expert guidance or that expert advice because I believe that in the world today, right, a lot of self-proclaimed gurus out there, I think expertise is overrated. So expert advice is overrated. Like people can give advice and dispense advice like water. But when I say expert guidance, right, it takes a different skill set, right? It takes a person with that patience, the person with that understanding and knowledge of who you are, in order to be able to guide you on the right path, sort of like a Sherpa, right? And every time a Sherpa guides somebody up the mountain, right, the Sherpa also needs to take note of the person's personal propensity, the person's stamina, or the person's ability, to climb and scale, right? So you need expert guidance. And so if I have a chance to rewind the clock, I would have gone back and gotten more expert guidance. It would have shortened my learning curve a long way. But I started out being very stubborn, doing this whole thing. It's like, yeah, it's my own rodeo. It's like I fire my boss, I'm going to do my own thing. And then, of course, what happens is just a fantasy. You end up, getting lost inside your own fantasy world, and then you make all the mistakes in the book.
Talking about stubbornness, when I was running my recruitment business, it was on the verge of being acquired. And the acquirer actually asked me, so how do you, know what to do? And then I was very arrogant and said, I'll just Google for my answers. And the guy replied, when the crisis comes, right, Google will not be able to help you, which is true. Being stubborn, you don't really go out and seek all this expert advice. But for you eventually did, because you did mention that you have 3 different mentors or people that you look up to that really give you some influence. Avi is one of them. I met him a few months ago. How did they, along your journey, shape the way you think or the way you operate?
Well, personally, I would say that mentors sometimes are the parents of your own choice. That's a deep conversation. Why? Because I don't mean to make my mentors my parents. They are not my parents, right? But by the same token, sometimes you can't choose your own parents. Your father could be a great mentor to you, or maybe not, right? Maybe your father is your great tormentor. He might be the one who critique you, punish you, and or maybe limits you sometimes. So when you choose mentors, right, you typically choose you look for people, right, number one, who you probably don't want to find people who are like really up there, because when they're up there, right, sometimes they have a bit of curse of knowledge. They do not know. They can't remember how it's like when they first started because they are already right up there already. So typically I look for people who are like 2 steps ahead of me. Maybe 1 step ahead of me, they may just tell me what to do, but 2 steps ahead of me, they not only tell me what to do, but they also explain to me why do this. So once I'm able to understand the why, right, like I said, I'm a very meta person. Once I understand the underlying dynamics, the underlying philosophy and psychology behind something, then I'm more likely to want to do it, right? And then it's also more sustained. So I started out looking for people who are like 2 steps ahead of me. And there are a couple of ways of learning from your mentors. One is you model after what they do. So it's like I said, right, it's easy for people to give advice. But if they give advice that they themselves don't practice, right, then you know that, no, this is not a mentor for you. So what you do is you actually model after what they do. And I think success leaves clues. When you model after what they do, right, that will help you. That's one. The second thing is I always have this philosophy. Actually, not always. Like I said, I was a very stubborn person. But what may change in my mind, right, is this philosophy of do it once at least. Sometimes, when people say, hey, this is what I do, try it too. Then you're like, no lah, I don't think I can do this lah. Yeah, this is not me lah. This is beneath me and all that kind of thing, right? Then when you have this kind of mindset, right, then you are very uncoachable and unmentorable. But when you have this mindset of, okay, you tell me go and do, I go and do it once at least once. Because once you have done it once, right, then you have the experience of what it's like. Then you have your own self-reflection, like, okay, what worked, what didn't, what felt good, what didn't, what felt natural, what didn't. And you will then open up that world of discovery for yourself. You start to go, hey, actually I can do things I never knew I could. Or you might even uncover some extra level, some superpower or wisdom that you never thought you had. So I always try it once before I come and tell them, I say, hey, no, I don't want to do it because I don't like to do this. It's not me. So that's the second advice. The third advice, right, is this is another deep stuff. We need to differentiate between how it works and how you work. Although it's deep because what I mean by how it works, right? Every time you go and read books on leadership, marketing, sales, whether you go and attend a seminar on marketing, sales, what typically people do is they are teaching you how it works or how they work, right? So it's okay. In order to make a sale, I need to ask. I need to know your customer, KYC. I need to. This is all how it works, right? But after that, right, you need to also understand how you work best. What are your preference? What's your personality type? So if your personality type is very introvert type, right, that is like how it works is go out there and networking every day. That's not how you work, right? Okay, I get it. There's nothing wrong with how it works, but it doesn't mean that works for you. So you need to understand how you work as well. So when you are able to customize, take what you have learned about how it works and then customize and modify it to suit how you work, that's the sweet spot where you'll be able to find your own modus operandi.
Trying to align the kind of personality that perhaps your prospective coach or mentor may have. Ideally, I'm an introvert. I try to find another person who is also an introvert because likely there'll be more synchronization over there. I am curious though, you mentioned about 2 steps ahead, which I really do agree with. But how do you discern that there are 2 steps ahead? Not 3 steps, not 1 step, but 2 steps.
Actually, this one is a bit of gut feel. I mean, the $1 million answer. Yeah, a bit tikam. But also, you must understand one thing is like, when some people, right, they are so far ahead, right, you're also a bit intimidated, right? Then the moment you feel intimidated, right, that it does 1 or 2 things, right? Number 1 is either you should lean into your fear of intimidation because that's where the growth is. Or the second is when you feel intimidated, it also becomes a bit uncomfortable. So if you go and approach a mentor who you see as too far ahead of you, maybe say 3 steps ahead of you, then the things that they guide you and advise you, right, you're kind of like, like this is a bit too far advanced for me. So the moment you feel intimidated, it's also a sign that maybe this person is a bit too advanced for you. When I say too advanced for you, I'm not saying it's not a negative judgment of yourself. It's just a matter of like how comfortable you feel. Because mentoring is actually a very intimate process. Like I said, it's like choosing a parent that you can choose, right? Then you need to have that relationship with that person as well, right? Because it's a relationship, it's not just taking, right? Because you also think about how you can also add value to your mentor. How can you bring value to your mentor? It's a two-way street.
Now, you had mentioned before in other sessions that you are a highly sensitive person, and of course, that eventually became a superpower for you. Can you walk us through that journey and how it has shaped your approach to leadership?
Wow, this is a topic we have all day. First of all, right, I never knew hypersensitivity was a thing until I read a fascinating book by a lady called Elaine Aron. And the book title is Highly Sensitive People. And shall we reference it as HSP, Highly Sensitive People, right? So I never even knew HSP was a thing. I never knew I was a HSP. Until I read it, I was like, damn, it's like, that describes me. When I was a young person, right, I'm hypersensitive to people's emotions. I don't know whether it's a genetic thing or is it because of the kind of childhood I had, right? I grew up in a family where there was a lot of conflict, right? So there was a lot of disputes, there was fights and sometimes violence as well. And so, I was only 3 years old, I was only 4 years old, navigating an environment like that. I don't know whether is it that I'm hypersensitive and therefore I took in all of these stimulants, or I developed this hypersensitivity as a defense mechanism, as a survival mechanism, to kind of like, manage myself. So as you can imagine, if you are like living out in the wild, like in the desert, right, you become hypersensitive to the weather changes, right? Similarly, when I live in an environment with a lot of conflict and emotions, I become hypersensitive to emotions. So much so that when I was only 5 years old, I remember I went to an auntie's house, and on the way home, I was telling my mom, like, hey, mom, auntie is not happy today. She's not feeling very good today. I don't know why. And my mom would say, 你想太多啦, you think too much lah, no way God, But it turns out, a few days later, my auntie will call my mom, because my mom's sister, right? And then she'll pour out her heart and everything. And my mom's like, oh my God, how do you know? And so I was very hypersensitive to all these things. And it is both a boon and a bane, as I mentioned. It's a boon because it helps me to navigate. It's a survival mechanism. It's a bane because people always say, no, you're too high, you're too sensitive. No, you're overly sensitive. 你太敏感了. You take everything personally. It's not that I take it personally, you see. It's like when I was only 5 years old, right? It's like when I took in all these emotional cues from people around me, like what am I to do with it? I haven't even formed proper sentences, right? I don't even know language that well. How am I going even to like read, study, learn from Daniel Goleman about emotional intelligence? I didn't have any framework or whatever whatsoever to manage and process those info. So my mind and my world is just like, wow. As you can imagine, like, wow, it's like haywire, it's like it goes crazy, it goes wild in my mind. And then when I go to school, right, then I need to learn how to fit in. Suddenly, it's like I'm away from home, I'm in a strange place with different people running around, and I become hypersensitive to that again. So everyone's comments, everyone's actions, I take everything in. And so you would say like, like I'm easily heartbroken. It's like you see something and wow, I'm very sensitive, I take it personally. So that's also a bane. So that really caused me a lot of suffering as well. I was bullied in school, I was picked on a lot. I took on I tap out all these emotions and feelings home from school, and didn't know what to do with myself. I'm just sit there paralyzed. When I know I'm supposed to be studying, but I just can't focus because my mind is all over the place. So it is challenging. So I don't want to flood you with all these challenges, but I hope that is actually a very instructive and informational piece for those of you who are parents who may have hypersensitive kids, or who yourself are a hypersensitive person, and now suddenly you go down memory lane and recall, damn, it's like that was how I was like growing up too.
Now that you describe it, I think when I was in my 20s, even at that point, I was also quite highly sensitive. I mean, in 20s, everyone have a crush and relationship and all that, but mine never lasts long because I'm so sensitive to things that they say, they do, and you will always reach a point, oh, I think she don't like me already. Okay, no more, So it is quite hard to navigate a proper relationship during that very sensitive phase, which is really very challenging. And I think for parents out there, of course, it'd be good to monitor that. I don't know, I think if you pair hypersensitivity with introversion, that's gonna be very challenging for parents to pick up as well. Which I think I do fall into that category. No way in hell, my parents would be.
Yeah, just like our parents also never grew up learning from Daniel Goleman, right? So here's the other piece of it. Okay, so here's the second part. Part 2. Okay, it's not only part 2 of my story, but part 2 of psychology development here. It's like there are typical ways of handling this hypersensitivity. One is maximizing and one is minimizing. What's maximizing? Maximizing is when you have all these emotions and you want to express to someone, you will try to dramatize it. So for example, if my mom come home from work, where I'll be like, Mommy, I tell you, today I saw this, I saw that, I felt this, I felt that. Then she'll be like, my God, like, why my son so drama? And I was like, can you just do your homework or not? Like, why you focus on all these things? Why you so capable? Why you so busybody? Go and do all these things. So that's called maximizing. So I'm a bit of a maximizer. So then of course people start to say, no, you're very drama, you're very intense, you're too much. Then again, that's the second wave of judgment. Some other people are what we call minimizers. So minimizer is like, I'm so sad she broke up with me. Then you just develop a kind of a defense mechanism. It's like a wall comes up and you just kind of minimize the thing and say, it's nothing lah. I don't need girls lah. I don't need love lah. I don't need this, I don't need that. Then you kind of wall yourself up. And some people I also see are like that. It's like even adults that I meet, right? It's like you can see if something really got to them. You really can see whether they were affected by it. But they just have this kind of like stonewall expression. It's not stoicism. Stoicism is a proper processing and management of that and then moving on. It's just kind of like an avoidance, a kind of an ignorance, like you just kind of, Chinese we say 装作若无其事的样子, So it's kind of like, nothing. So you become so numb, right? That when you become older, right? When you eat something super nice, like, wow, the prawn mee very nice. You also like, nice lor. Okay lor, like that, prawn mee is prawn mee, right? You will not go like, wow, so nice, shooks, yeah. Like, so it's very hard for you to kind of like engage different expression. So you talk about communication coaching, right? That's what I noticed as a pattern as well. The ability to express an emotion as it is.
So for anyone out there who is hypersensitive, that is one of the key thing, or one of the things that they should consider, trying to express it out as a means of processing
Yes.
it out of their system.
And it's important to find safe space to do that. And safe space is such a dynamic conversation as well. Your family is supposed to be a safe space, but very often it is not.
Sometimes it may
Like
not be.
if you express your emotions to your mom and your mom's like, 没有啦，没有事情啦, nothing lah. So they'd actually ever slap you or beat you up, it's like not the kind of unsafe, but just the very moment of being invalidated when you express something and not have it met at an emotional or psychological level by somebody, that itself really tells you, oh, it's not safe. So the next time you won't bring it up anymore because you're like, such conversations, such emotions is not welcome in this household. It's not welcome here. It's not welcome in this space. Or you kind of have this feeling like, 跟你讲了没有用啊, I tell you also no use, or you don't care, you don't really understand me. What for I tell you? So yeah, it's one of those things. So a lot of parents sometimes say it's like, hey, I want to get into my children's world. I want to understand what's going on in their life. But when you sit down, the first question is like, hey, every day at home, hey, how's school today? How do you do for tests? Like you're just management by outcome. It's like KPI like that, So you want to enter into people's world by, having the patience and curiosity, that empathy to listen to people. Say, oh, you feel this way. What makes you feel this way? Or what is the outcome you wish you had? Oh, I wish that she likes me, lor. Or I wish that she wouldn't reject me, lor. So at least you can enter into the world. When you provide a safe space, right, people will tell you. But if you don't listen to them, what happens is next time they forget, I didn't tell. Tell also no point, you won't understand. So that's the idea of safety. Safety doesn't have to be punishment. Safety could be just not being met.
I must admit, I was one of those parents, and when I see my kids, it's like, how's school? How's your homework? And it took me a few instances to realize school is the last thing they want to talk about when they're home. And you really have to lean into their interests. Okay, let's say video games. Whatever nonsense video game they are playing, lean into it. Oh, can we play together? What is it? What is this character about? And then they really start to open up. I have one boy who is especially introverted, very quiet one, very soft-spoken. So that seems to be the way to enter into their world. So I guess that could be one of the consideration for parents out there. And of course, I also want to touch on the industry that you're primarily in, which is the speaking industry. Many people from outside see it with a lens of mystique. Wow, so glamorous! Fly here, fly there, speak on stage, for 40 minutes and then go back again or fly somewhere else. But I'm sure there is some misconception as well, because the facade is just the facade. What's some of the common misconception about the speaking industry that you would like to address?
Where do I start? Okay, first of all, right, people only see on the glamorous side lah. I think when you see the glamorous side, what happens is that there's a form of survivor bias lah. Like for every 10 who start out wanting to make a career in the speaking or training or even coaching for the matter industry, right? 9 of them never quite made it and go back to send resumes and CVs. So when you see one person who succeeded, obviously that person has done certain things, like you say, like execute certain things in step, and also strategically, manage the environment in a way that serves them and their business. So many people don't understand all these mechanics going on, so they just basically see only the glamorous and the successful case studies, and then they just go like, oh, I want to be like that. To be a speaker especially is challenging. Why? Because you see, first of all, you need to be comfortable with intensity. What's intensity? Intensity is not how we live life. Life is a marathon. We have 24 hours in a day. It's not every single second is intense. It's do or die, make or break. You live your life, every single second is do or die, make or break. You'll be super hyper strung up and you probably wouldn't live long. So we are not usually wired for intensity. We human beings are not wired for intensity. We are wired for energy conservation so that we can survive. We are wired for subsistence and survival. So to be a speaker, right, it's like running a 100-meter sprint. Every second is do or die. And that's also not the way you live a life. Like you cannot ask Usain Bolt, right, to run a marathon. If he run a marathon like he runs a sprint, like he'll die within 5 kilometers, right? It's like not to die lah, but he like being son, KO within 5 kilometers. He can't sustain that kind of speed. Probably not even 5 kilometers. So we're not built for that. So speaking is a sprint. It's like you need your entire life, right, is orientated around that 45 minutes of intense peak performance. That intense, like be at your best. Your smile must be more brighter, your eye contact must be more intense. Every single word you pronounce and say, must you say with gusto and conviction. It's not the way we live. And that's why you need to be comfortable with intensity. And many people are not. That's why people are fearful of public speaking. Like the joke that people would rather die than to speak on public, right? So they rather lie in the coffin than to give the eulogy. That's why if you are able to master a hard skill like speaking and be able to maintain sustain that intensity, it's a very powerful skill. That's how you make your money, because you are able to master the intensity and then turn the intensity to your favor. The second one is every time you go on a stage, right, you're having a blind date with 300 people, 500 people. And blind dates are with one person is scary as shit enough really. Imagine blind date with 500 people. You are essentially having a blind date. These people don't know you they probably Google you, they probably research a bit on you, they probably check your LinkedIn, but they don't know you from Adam or Eve. It's like they go on stage, they're going to project onto you. And you need to be okay with projection. And projection goes both ways, right? For some reason, like you look like their ex-boyfriend or ex-husband, they hate you, they just hate your guts, they hate your face, even your way you talk, your energy is similar to their ex or their biggest tormentor. No matter what, they'll just hate you on. It's like, then you just can't please everyone. So we need to let go of that. But the other thing is like, if I can just touch one person's life, then I'll have done my job. Nope, you haven't done your job. You're not there to touch one person's life. If you're hired by an organization to go and speak at a conference, or you're hired by events organizer to speak at a conference, you're not there to touch one person's life. You're there to be part of the conference program. You're there to inspire people. You're there to make people feel better. You're there to make people uplifted. You're there to make people. So you're not there to just touch one person's life. So don't give me that bullshit. So if you touch one person's life, then you don't deserve to be paid a few thousand or 5,000 or 5 figure or 6, whatever figure you are paid. Take money back. Refund your money. You only touch one person's life, what's the point, right? So, of course, I'm not sure I say that you should touch everyone's life, because there's a high bar to hit. It's just that you need to know your objective. Like, what's the overall feel you want to give people? What's the experience you want people to live with? What's the thing that you want people to remember? You want people to learn. You want people to feel after you're done with your speech. And that itself takes a lot of engineering, a lot of social engineering, a lot of choreography, a lot of psychology, and a lot of rehearsal in order to deliver the effect. So it's really a lot of what just for 45 minutes of intense performance, and have people project onto you, have people hate you no matter what, and have some people love you no matter what. And when people love you no matter what, you have to realize that even as a speaker, you're a normal human being. You will still quarrel with your wife. You will still have some bad habits. You may still not wash your underwear after 2 days. Whatever it is, right? It's like you're a normal human being with flaws. But when you're on stage, people project this perfection onto you. You're like, oh my God, like you're such amazing. Like you can do no wrong. Like you're a role model. And then whenever you do something not so good, people, oh shit, it's like my perception of you is broken, it's shattered. So projection is something that you need to be very, very comfortable with if you want to be a speaker. And that itself is another thing. And finally, as a speaker, you take everything personally. It's often the case, right? Speakers have huge egos, they say, right? So very often sometimes if, you turn on your LinkedIn and you saw another speaker say, hey, I'm speaking in front of this at this event. You're like, damn, this is the project I pitched for. I wish it was me, but it's not you. Then they rejected you and they never even tell you why they rejected you. They never tell you why they choose another person. Then you go take it personally again. So if you want to sign for this career, right, you need to understand, you need to be okay with intensity. You need to be okay with people projecting onto you. And you need to be okay that you are going to take things personally, no matter what you say. Don't take things personally. It's not personal. It's just business. Shit. It is personal because whether people choose you or not choose you, right, it affects your bottom line. It affects your income. So if you are okay with intensity, being projected upon, and take everything personally, and still can live to tell a tale, right, then you can do this business. So sorry to say that's my long rant and my long spiel. about.
So it sounds like a lot of behind the scenes work, almost similar to like like a zi char store. You order fried rice, 5 minutes already come out, but we don't see the hours of prep work that they started at 6 a.m. in the morning to make that 5 minutes possible. And also to your last point, I think that thick skin is very important, which is why I hate doing speaking engagement. I always focus on the one person that is fell asleep, or is just not motivated to listen to what I have to say, instead of everyone else who may be listening keenly. Now I do recognize that most of my listeners would be at best amateur speaker. Is there one tactical tip you can give to the amateur speaker out there that would really raise their game by 50-80%?
I would say that, like I said, a lot of my growth, right, is all compounded over small actions here and there. The one tip that will raise 50, 80, 60%. Okay, I'll give this one. This one is given to me by one of my mentors. His name is Frederick Harren. He really changed my speaking career. Short story lah. Once I was in Taipei attending a conference. I paid my own money to attend that conference, and he turns out to be one of the speakers of the day as well. I was like, hey, hi. And he told me one thing. He said, go to sit at the back of the room. I'm like, huh? No, I want to support you. I want to sit at the front row, give you, clap for you, give eye contact. He said, no, sit at the back. I said, why? He says, from the back, right, you can see the whole room. You can see what type of jokes work with what type of audience. You can see what do people respond to. You can see what do people not respond to. You can see what are the dull moments where you talk and people are like on their phones. You can see moments where you talk and people are taking out their phones and snapping picture of their slides. So you can see, you can understand like what works and what doesn't. And that's a very, very important thing. Because if you don't know what works and what doesn't, right, then you are not a keen explorer of understanding. It's a bit of a KYC also. Very often speakers just think, I have this message I want to deliver, I'll just go up there and deliver this message. But we need to constantly, just like a marketer, need to constantly do A/B testing, need to do analytics to know how well received, like click-through rates, open rates of your emails and all that stuff, right? It's the same thing too. Speakers need to do that too. We need to be able to understand KYC. We need to know, what type of content, what type of things resonate with what type of audiences. Then you know how to be the best possible, give the best possible experience to your speaker. I think that's a ninja tip that many people don't actually know or think about.
Good one. I have a friend who mentioned this to me when many years ago I proposed to a speaker to speak at his one of his event. And he does insurance agency, and he mentioned something which I still remember very keenly today. He said, listening to a motivational speaker is like masturbation. You feel good for a while, but very quickly things go back to normal. I'd like to understand your take on that. The speaking part, not the masturbation part.
Number one, I have this to say, I think the motivational speaking era is over. Motivation speaking era is over. In the days where you read books by Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, those people are motivational speakers at the time I went. At first they speak, right? They give motivation because people need motivation. Because that's the industrial age. People have workshop training, people read books, they still go to library to borrow books, they still read encyclopedia to get their knowledge. So they need they need motivation, right? They need extra motivation. Then what happens came the age, right, where we have the internet. So suddenly people have all kinds of access to information. Right? When people have all kinds of access to information, right, they still do not know how to apply the information. Therefore, motivational speaking still works. But today we live in a world of social media, and everyone is a motivational guru on LinkedIn and on TikTok or Instagram. Like, you can just watch a lot of motivational videos, you can watch a lot of motivational talking heads. So motivation has become democratized. So, when I was in China, right, I gave feedback to one particular student after she gave a speech. And I gave the speech, right, when I gave my feedback, right, one of her colleagues or the participant class said, so means to say I've attended a chicken soup class. So at first I thought, wow, it must be very inspirational, but actually it's a derogatory comment. It's kind of saying that, this teacher, this trainer, right, is trying to motivational speaking us, like 上来一堂鸡汤课. So I think nowadays, if you are just a motivational speaker, you will become obsolete very quickly. You need to give people, solid content. And nowadays, a lot of speakers are researching content on ChatGPT. So the entire keynote is written with ChatGPT. There's content is no longer useful anymore. Now you need to provide insight. Insight, meaning to say that stories plus learning points, takeaways from these stories. And then there's insights must be not only insights, must be unique insights. So it's like, from my experience of having climbed Mount Everest, this is what I realized. From my experience of having served in the Special Operations Force for the last 30 years, this is my insights as a Navy SEAL. So, when you offer this kind of insights, people, okay, that's what we pay for. Because ChatGPT cannot produce that. But you have 30 years of experience, you have climbed Mount Everest, you have done shit in your life, right? Then you can provide that, from my perspective, this is what I think. And people, yeah, I agree. Oh, yeah, I never thought of it that way. Now that is what people go for. And so, I think motivational speaking is over. So if you're just motivational speaker, you're just providing people a short-term service that doesn't last.
Which is what my friend has mentioned. So he is quite spot on, and given that he mentioned this like decade ago. Okay, since we talk about social media, I like to draw attention to LinkedIn. You have mentioned quite a number of personal stories. I follow you quite keenly on social media and really love some of the content that you put out there. But at the same time, you have also been quite critical of some of the LinkedIn campaign that is going on, some of the content that seems inauthentic or over polished. I'd like to go a bit deep on that. What are some of them that you have observed? And of course, what do you think truly make for valuable content on LinkedIn?
I think there's an erosion of intellectual robustness on LinkedIn, and that disappoints me. I think Grace Yo has written a lot about this recently, right, in her columns. I am a believer, like I say, insights, right? Insights means to say offering unique insights. Now, I am thinking of keynote writing on LinkedIn. I think of every single post I write like a keynote. I'm actually exercising my keynote muscles, right? How can I provide unique perspective and insights to people? And thank you very much for following me and consuming my content. You're one of the lurkers, but if you don't like, I don't know that you saw my content. I think that a lot of people are just wanting to play the popularity game. They're just going after numbers. And let's be honest, numbers is an indicator. And when there's a lack of any other indicator, right, then numbers become the only indicator. And that's why people are so addicted to those numbers. So what I feel is that, if you have a unique insight, like for example, you experience something and you have a perspective of something, and you go on to Canva, or you go and draw a picture or something and do a beautiful infographic, fair play to you, kudos to you. But what happens is, if you are part of an engagement pod, you pay a few $1,000s to a so-called LinkedIn guru, right? So at first, one of the people I follow, I'm a fan of some of these people lah. Then I started to see that their content has started following this particular pattern. I wonder why. So I found out that they actually follow this so-called guru in the Western world lah. So they pay a few $1,000s to this person. So I'm like, wow, if they are doing so well after being coached by this guru, I also want to follow this guru. So I did one thing. I went to this so-called guru's website and to check out his offer. Obviously, if it's so good, right, I want to check out his offer. What does he offer? What does he coach? What does he teach? So that I can learn. Then obviously, on every guru's website, you will see what's called testimonials. So I went to the testimonial page and I saw a lot of familiar faces. I'm like, these people are all coached by him. Then I'm like, interesting. So, wow, he must be damn good because these are people I like and follow. Then I start to realize, I start to follow, take one extra step of forensic. I go and visit all their LinkedIn pages. And I start to see, actually the same content was written on all their pages. I'm like, this is some form of content syndication. That means one piece of content that's provided. I don't know how this person created content, maybe through AI, through some graphics agency somewhere who manufacture these beautiful graphics for them. So But then what they do is they just take the graphic, post on their LinkedIn, and then write something about it, and the content is almost similar, but every single person is similar. And then it has got like 500 over shares, like 1,000 over comments. Then I realized their comments and shares are by the same people again. Then I realized, oh, this is actually part of like a subscription service, like a mega pod. It's like share, But LinkedIn, this algorithm, I keep giving suggested posts, and keep giving me suggested posts from these people. And I'm saying, oh, okay. So these people have successfully, LinkedIn said they don't like pods, right? But I think these people have successfully somehow navigated that algorithm in such a way that they are not picked up by LinkedIn as a mega pod. And they are being referred again and again and again and again. And that to me is, again, that is a bit of a distortion, a bit of a market distortion. Because if you think about it, right, the really great speakers, the really great CEOs, they're not on LinkedIn 2-3 hours a day. They're not on LinkedIn 2-3 hours a day. They have a business to run. They have a life to live. They're probably even somewhere out in the beach somewhere, even if they want to enjoy their life so much, right? They're not on LinkedIn. So it makes you really wonder. It's like, I think sometimes LinkedIn has turned into a sort of a distortionary. A lot of people look very good on LinkedIn. That's why I say, but are they really doing that well?
Yeah, so it's really like Instagram, where it's always just highlights, you going to cafe and all that. The equivalent over on LinkedIn. So in your opinion, how can professionals use LinkedIn more effectively to build, I guess, meaningful connections rather than just, like you said, chasing likes and shares?
I think one of the most important thing is I curate very carefully the people I follow and the content that I consume. LinkedIn actually, let's put it this way, they want to be a media station. If you are honest with it, like now I'm getting all those LinkedIn news, right? And LinkedIn news is telling me, TikTok is being restored in US. LinkedIn news is telling me, the recent air crash, right, has some new findings. So I'm like, they are actually a news channel right now. So you must understand that since LinkedIn is a news channel, you need to be very, very selective about the content that you consume. So I follow certain followers, and sometimes, right, LinkedIn they tell you, you need to comment on other people's posts, then the algorithm will come back. So every comment is like a handshake. You go around shaking people's hands, right? Hopefully they'll come back. But it's like going to networking, what? If you are an introvert, I'm telling you, go in there and shake, you must go inside and shake as many hands as possible, get as many name cards as possible. That's ridiculous, because that's not strategic. That's not the way you're going to build your career. So the same thing on LinkedIn as well. If you are so free to always go there and shake so many people's hands, right? People will start to develop this branding about you as though you are just a sprayer and prayer. You're not strategic. So when you are strategic, you need to know who are the people you want to follow. For example, if you want to get a particular job, right, and you know that this is the person who is a key decision maker who can potentially hire you. Let's say you're a marketer and you admire a particular chief marketing officer because you like their perspective, you like their approaches to things, you like their insights. Then follow their LinkedIn, follow their content if they write regularly there. Engage in their content. And then slowly, right, what you're doing is you're actually building affinity with this person. Secondly, you are also already starting to acculturate yourself to working with this person. So when there's an opportunity to work for this company, right, you already prove yourself to be the right cultural fit, because you are already in line with their value systems, with their thought processes, with their philosophy. Sorry, I just disappeared. Yeah. So that's what I would say. That's what I would say lah. Would be the network on LinkedIn. Then what I do on LinkedIn is also after I engage with certain people and I kind of feel like, these are people that I really vibe with and we share similar values, because I would say that private writing is based on public writing is based on private thinking. Public writing, so when you write a post on LinkedIn, it goes out in the public. What you write out in public, right? You must first of all go through your private thinking. And you're able to see, right, the nuances between how some people write is deep emotions, is probably ChatGPT generated. But if you see that there's some, coming back full circle to this interview, coming back to my highly sensitive nature, you can kind of get a sense of person's vibe, a sense of person's emotional state when they write certain things. And then I like it when people express some kind of controversy, some kind of frustration, some kind of anger, some kind of disappointment. That tells me, it tells me it is a window to this person's values. What you're disappointed by tells me what doesn't gel with your value. What you're angered by tells me what you are against. And when you're against something, you're taking a stand, you're taking a position about something. And that helps me understand who you are as well. Right? So once I start to see some of these people that I vibe with, right, when I have the time, I actually engage these people in morning walks or having coffee. In the past, a lot of speakers says, I don't do coffee, I don't do free consult. But nowadays, I don't see it that way. I see that it's not coffee session just for sake of drinking coffee and having fun and getting fat. I think it's about going in with a kind of explorer's mindset. When I'm having coffee with a person, I want to understand what's in their world. So it's part of the KYC process. It's also part of my own research for my own speeches and my own keynotes. I want to know what's in their world, what are their challenges, what they're going through, what are some of the issues at their organizations or companies or businesses that that are left unaddressed. Then this becomes my I come back, right, and I tap into an Excel spreadsheet. Still very old school. I tap in an Excel spreadsheet of what I call my content bank. My content bank, I have a story bank. That means the stories that people tell me. I have something called a problem bank. So it's like the problems that people share that they have, the problems, the challenges that they have. I write it inside there. And then whenever I want to write a piece of content, right, I'll open up that bank and I'll see, here are some of the unsolved issues. Maybe I can write something on LinkedIn today can solve somebody's problems. Maybe I can, position myself in such a way that will solve other people's problems. So when you do that, right, that's actually going to be very helpful for your business and also for your career. Because if you show that you can solve people's problems effectively or in a different way.
I always like to discuss about the low points in life, because for many people from the outskirts, when they look in, they think that, wow, all these successful people like yourself just go up, 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 up. It's very linear. But I know for sure that life is just a series of roller coaster rides. But having said that, a lot of times, I guess especially in the Asian culture, we have a huge disdain for failure or for fuck up. But I always feel that, at least as I reflect on my own life, many fuck ups actually led me to later success in my career. I'm interested to know, how has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success in your career?
So many, man. It's like I'm just trying to find in my content bank one failure. Okay, I don't want to go that far, but I would say that one of my failure in my life, right, is, I would say, mastering my own emotions. Because I'm the type of person who sometimes would have, emotional melancholy. Like sometimes I often give myself that feeling, at the end of every year, right? Okay, I'm not very smooth. Edit this. Okay, at the end of every year, usually I have a sense of disappointment about my year. I kind of go like, I live with regret. I never did this. I never did that. I never meet these goals. I never meet that goals. I tend to have a negative bias. I tend to look at all the things that are wrong. And it's a very private emotion. I go into this very negative spiral, this negative space of imagining worst case scenario, beating on myself, being very negative about myself. So I allow myself something called a fuck it day. A fuck it day, right, is I allow myself to go I know this is scary and this is weird, but I'll do that. I'll go into a room by myself and lock myself for one day. I tell my wife, hey, I'm going away for a fucking day. And what I did was actually just write out or just express out whatever emotions I have. It's kind of like, I'm not a good entrepreneur. I'm not a good business person. I shouldn't run a business. Fuck it, I should just stop it. Fuck it, I should just go and close. Just go to Accra and close out my business tomorrow. Fuck it, why bother so much? Why want to impact the world, change the world, want to help people? Fuck it, I want to do all this all day. I can't even help myself, right? Why do I want to? Sorry for all this foul language, but I'm just using the whole fuck thing. Because I just went fuck it. I just go fuck it. Like, I'm not going to do this anymore. Really, like shit, it's like I'm the worst speaker. I'm the worst ever. Fuck it. I'm never going to succeed. And trust me, I got a lot of track record of fucked ups. So I got more than enough track record to back up that I really should fuck it. Then at the end of it, I'll emerge from that room. I have this voice that say, okay, enough already. Kind of like, 够了 ho. Enough already or not? You whine and bitch and moan and fuck it and all that. Enough or not? Now what do y'all do? Yeah, go like, yes, yeah. What am I going to do? If I really want to fuck it, okay, fuck it lah. Then be a man and just really close the whole business down. And go and send resume and be a man and do the right thing because I still need to survive. Sorry to say, I'm not yet at a level where I've got financial wealth to fire, financial independence, retire early. I cannot retire. Unlike you, I haven't retired yet because I'm not that disciplined. I'm a bit of a spender. I say, shit, okay, now what next? So I start with a fresh page all the time. And then I start to fall in love with what I do again. I think very often we don't spend enough time romancing ourselves. I know that sounds weird to your point earlier about masturbation, but I don't mean that physical. I mean romance yourself. Like really start to be a fan of your own self. And start to say, actually there are a lot of things that I'm not that bad lah. It's like I'm still quite good at certain things. Then the question is now, okay, cool. How can you bring more of that goodness to the world? How can you amplify that superpower, that amazingness, that love, that compassion, that empathy, that curiosity, that explorer's mindset, that humility? How do I amplify that? And so suddenly, okay, I'm able to come on an upward trend again. Why? Because I don't know why, but a lot of us, entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. And there are a lot of times when we actually utter under our breath, fuck it. But we just try to, brace ourselves. Chinese we say 硬撑下去, So you kind of brace yourself and go, toughen up. Don't show my scars. Don't show my weakness. Be strong. Be strong. Be strong. So what happens is people are so propped up by all these things that one day they just burn. One day that whole thing just comes collapsing. So I think this kind of fuck it days are very therapeutic for me lah. Some people go to like the what room? The rage room. Yeah, they go and smash up things and old guitars and plates and everything. That's a bit extreme now to me. I don't think that physical, because of my experience growing up in violence, right? Physical doesn't do it for me. I don't need to express it out, but I think it's more of a, for me, the modus operandi is more of a verbal thing. So I just really just go and, I don't scream. I just go, fuck it lah. Fuck it. Yeah, like that.
So you should take stock of the journey, especially when it comes to. I read somewhere that when it comes close to Christmas, there's actually a term for it. There are people that become more depressed, and I think it's along the line of it's year end, and then when they look back, what have I achieved, or importantly, they focus on what have I not achieved. And to your point earlier on, like we say about it's like a personal version of rage room, whatever works for you, to really let it out. And it's also in a way when you first mentioned it, like the equivalent of a cheat day, right? For people who are on some very strict diet, there has to be a day where you just have to let loose and let go. Otherwise, things can never, because you can't just continuously stretch the rubber band. You have to let go for a while, and before you continue to stretch it in the future. And I think this is a very good exercise for everyone to take stock of, to just express it out. Whether it's through writing, through recording, maybe for the violent people, go to their rage room, whatever it is, there has to be some form of outlet, which I think in our earlier conversation about you growing up as a kid, that outlet to express out your inner feelings, I think is very important, especially as for us solopreneur, it's really a very lonely journey lah. Which is why every time I meet up with someone new, I always try to be as raw and as authentic as I can, because I'm like, well, maybe this person can be my free therapy lah. Why not give it a try? I think you probably may have sensed a bit of it when we first met up. I think all this would really be interesting and helpful for people who may be on their own journey to explore what they want to pursue in their life, and also to perhaps get out of the rut that they are currently in. I'm mindful of time. Before we end the show, any parting words or anything that we did not cover? Any feedback?
I don't have lah. I just share like openly about what I've gone through and my thoughts, and thanks for holding this space for me to just express out loud what I've been feeling and thinking for some time. And within a safe space and in a very hopefully knowledgeable and insightful way. It's not like it's just expressed out in a very raw and uncensored. But I don't think a lot about things like that. I think we need to be more considerate towards people because a lot of people are going through a lot of different challenges, and sometimes it's easy for us from the outside looking in to judge them based on their intentions, but no, judge them based on their actions. But actually, we should be understanding their intentions. It's like maybe they don't have the intention to hurt. Maybe they have better intentions, but maybe they're going through some challenges. So instead of judging them for their actions, I think we need to express more compassion and more curiosity towards other people instead of judging them. I think anger itself has a very bad reputation, and as a society, we don't do well with anger, especially in Asian societies. It's like, when we see someone angry, right, we kind of like, oh yeah, don't be angry, don't be angry. We try to hush them. We try to tell them, it's like, oh no, why so angry? So fierce. It's like, so we have a lot of negative connotation of anger. But I think anger is actually a very powerful emotion. Anger is what caused people to want to fight for change. Anger is what formed the civil rights movement. Anger is what make people want to fight for better of their society, for the government, for their communities. Anger is a very powerful emotion, and for a long time, I've always been said that I have an anger issue. I'm a very angry man. It's like, and for many people, because they have a lot of unexpressed anger, they have a lot of unprocessed anger, and we actually villainize people for their anger. And for men, right, we tend to use anger as our mask. We used to use anger as our facade, because if we cry and we are sad and everything, you say, oh, you're so weak, this man cried. But when we are angry, right, we normally put on a stronger frown. We stand up a bit more straight. Maybe our muscles flex a little. We become more so-called manly, and so we were rewarded for that. And then when we express all the anger, people will say, hey, why are you so angry? Why are you so fierce? Why are you so bully and all that? So we, as a society, has for a long time not had a good relationship with anger, and I think we need to change that. So one of my teachers told me, we need to stop using our anger as a mask for your grief. Well, that was profound. I was like, I don't understand it. And when I didn't understand it, you know what happened? I got angry with him. I said, can you explain that to me? And he was like, there's no need to explain. You just need to feel it yourself. I'm like WTF? He's like, how can you lay this on me? And then I was actually going to figure out myself. Well, we're actually going to figure out ourselves. Yeah, that's true. I should stop getting angry with everything. I should start actually allowing myself to process the grief of what I've lost. The grief of my disappointment over the idealistic world that I have that has been shattered. I feel that people should be kind, people should be nice, but sometimes I see that people are not kind, are not nice. It's not that they're not kind, they're not nice, they just act in a very unkind ways. But then I get disappointed by that, and I get angry by that. So I should pause my anger and ask myself, what should I be grieving instead? I'm grieving that shattered image of idealistic, of human beauty that's been shattered. I should grieve the disappointment with how life can be sometimes. I should grieve the lost opportunities I have because I never believe in myself. So a lot of things we should actually just allow ourselves to go and grieve. And grief is an emotion again that we don't talk about because grief is so sad, so depressed. No, don't grieve. But grief is also a very healthy emotion. So once we stop using our anger as a shield against our grief, then we can fully grieve. Then we can fully be part of human. And then when we can return back to our anger, we will then transmute our anger. We will transmutate our anger from something that's so-called toxic into something beautiful. This is what my trauma-informed teacher Natalia Richard calls your divine anger. Your divine anger is that thing, that the moment in time when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you realize that you need to galvanize all your emotional, your mental, your cognitive, your skills, your talents, galvanize all of them and apply that in service of change. Because you're like, I'm sick and tired of this, I want to change. Now that's the skillful and useful application of divine anger. And that's what produces a lot of progress in our society. I don't know why that just came to me, but two emotions, anger and grief, we haven't really quite processed that enough as a society. And that's why you see a lot of road rage.
I really love that. I think it again could be something to add into people's year-end exercise, to grieve about what they haven't been able to achieve and to seek that closure, importantly. Because I think as a society we don't really, as adults we don't really cry unless we watch Disney movie or stuff like that, but there's very little opportunity until a loved one passed away and all that, and it's very once off. But I think there seems to be a very imbalance, and you just keep things inside, which I guess in a way it erupts into anger, and then shit hits the fan. So something for all of us to ponder, and of course good to look at resources that we could help to process all this out of our system. And with that, Coen, thank you so much for coming onto the show. Really enjoy this conversation, and for you to school us more on the speaking industry, let us know more about yourself as a person and all the interesting and important things that you have shared with us today. For people who's keen to learn more
Okay,
about
they can
you,
go to my website, coentan.com, or they can go to my LinkedIn, and I'm most active on LinkedIn in my social media. So I'll give you the links on in the show notes, and they can just look up Coen Tan, Coen Tan.
Okay. As Coen mentioned, all this will be in the show notes. Coen, once again,
Thank you, Adrian. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.